Hi, I'm David, and I'm back with ManaStrike. I was playing on and off and got pretty close to 2,500 trophies, so I decided to sit down and record this gameplay, and, spoiler alert, I do reach rank 9 in this video. So I'm trying a new video format this week, where I review my gameplay in hindsight rather than provide my commentary while I'm playing the game. Let me know in the comments if you prefer this better, and as always, please leave a like on the video, and if you're interested in the content, leave a subscribe on the channel. I try to post a ranked play video every other day. So without further ado, let's get into the gameplay. So as you can see, my first opponent in this recording is Tezzeret. And against a Tezzeret player, since he's blue-black, I always consider the possible cards he's running, but no matter which comp, it is most important to be aggressive. So I put out my two aggressive units, Goblin Artillery and Hellrider, right away, because the way to beat any Tezzeret comp is to beat down their tower and then purely play defense, especially against the Etherscroll Ancient Reaver Demon combo. So here you can see that I backed up the Goblin Artillery Hellrider with Koth, which allowed Hellrider to get in some hits, and the Goblin Artillery is still chipping away. His bombs are, I think, 320 damage, 340 damage, it turns out, each bomb. So the more bombs he can launch at the tower, the better I'm at. And look at that, the tower's already at like a third health. Now, I have used a Planeswalker. Since I sent in Koth, he has 3 Tezzeret left, and I have 2 Koth left. And here he is showing me that he is using Etherscroll Reaver Demon. So Koth's AoE air attacks are very good to defend against this, since he can attack the Reaver Demon and also, or he attacks the Etherscroll Ancient and coincidentally hits the Reaver Demon. However, I had to spend 2 Koth Planeswalkers to deal with 1 Etherscroll Reaver Demon push, so I'm way behind. Even though I got the first tower, he almost immediately took my first Sub-Guardian as well. So I have 1 Koth left once this one dies, but he has 3 Tezzeret left because you get a Planeswalker every time you defeat a Sub-Guardian. So the other option with my deck to handle this push is the Shivan Dragon, because the Shivan Dragon also does AoE damage against air units. So that's what I find is the most important to defeating Tezzeret, is AoE air damage, so that you can attack the Etherscroll Ancient and hit the Reaver Demon. So I fended off that push pretty well, but my tower's still at half health, and I'm not remotely close to the same on his tower. Here we're just kind of playing out with a couple of small units, waiting for strategies to appear and mana to build up, because look at that, he Reaver Demons all the Carrion Crows for 4. And he needed a full mana for that. So his Planeswalker's also on the board, but I don't want to use my Planeswalker yet because it's just too valuable. Koth is going to help me win the game. So I'm really trying, because we both have built up so much mana, to defend this push with just my units, but I couldn't do it, and what I really don't want to do is let Tezzeret into my side, because then he can start placing units way too close to my tower. So as it was, the Etherscroll Ancient only attacks buildings, whereas Reaver Demon attacks other units. So the Etherscroll went way too close to my tower and I killed it. But now he's got a Reaver Demon and a Tezzeret. We can assume, especially since Etherscroll Ancient was nerfed, it was decreased in mana and also in health. That makes it easier to cast in a situation like that. But I slowly used my units to overwhelm him by responding to each of his small, like Tezzeret plus Reaver Demon, but without Etherscroll Ancient. And that slow build-up of advantage ended up getting me the tower that I needed to win in sudden death. Hopefully with this format I can just click through my rewards and queuing. But I guess since I'm reviewing, I don't really have much to talk about in these few seconds here. So we're playing against Kiora. Kiora is blue-green. And I believe that I start aggressive again. Yes, so I place the Hellrider that I have, and this is pretty much to challenge the Kiora player to show me what they have. Pure blue decks like Jace will play the Lightning Tower to block me, to block my aggressive units that attack buildings. So right now I see that he was playing the Sphinx of the Final Hour, but also Aetherscroll Ancient here. So it looks like the point is another Aetherscroll Ancient type deck, but he is using Ninja of the Deep Hours to get in some sneak damage as well. So overall it seems, and the Spider, but very flying oriented with the Ninja to clean up, because the Ninja always gets at least 1 damage in, and it's very hard to kill the Ninja quickly enough without him doing 2 or 3 swipes. So here my worry is that Kiora is not going to die, even though she has really low health. And so I placed 2 units to try to stop her, but what I didn't know is that Kiora's ranged. And that's a pretty good range for a ranged unit. And she's still not dying because I could only place things in my side of the battlefield. So that Kiora just sat there and ranged hit my units and killed them. So I wasted a lot of mana to do next to nothing, which I was trying to use to kill the Kiora. So just like last game, the reason I want to kill the Planeswalker as far away from my Sub-Guardian as possible is that you get to place units within a certain radius of your Planeswalker. So the Aetherscroll Ancient in the previous push was placed much closer to my tower than necessary. And I have no choice here but to use Koth. I didn't have any other unit that could effectively deal with the Haunted Guardian and the Planeswalker. But now Koth is also attacking this Aetherscroll Ancient with the Buccaneer. Swashbuckler? Stormfleet Swashbuckler. And so I can see the Ninja coming, but I don't have the Hadron Scouts. The Hadron Scouts are how I preferably deal with it, because the 3 little guys can take it out, but often I will play both the Hadron Scouts and either Fireshrine Guardian or Ashcloud Phoenix, just so that it dies all the faster, because it can do some really bad damage to your Sub-Guardian if it gets multiple swipes in. And so my Goblin Artillery did deal the necessary damage to the Sub-Guardian, and I played the Hellrider on top to try to distract his plays, and also to get a head start on the upper Sub-Guardian, and there's another Hellrider because he chose not to respond the first time. So it looks like with his Ninja of the Deep Hours, if he plays it enough times, I could lose the bottom Sub-Guardian, which is why I'm being annoying with my aggressive units in the top row. But that final Ninja he placed couldn't even reach my tower, so the game ends in 1-0. Yeah, as a defensive player, you really need to be careful about Ninja of the Deep Hours. I've seen more Tezzeret players play Ninja as well recently, and there are Dovin decks out there who are purely chip damage, and they use Ninja of the Deep Hours to get that chip damage in over and over and over. So this is just skipping through these rewards because, like I said, I have been playing on and off, but not very intensely for a couple days. So I have built up some daily quests that I haven't completed. I've built up some battle rewards, the boosters. So throughout this hour, I will be racking up the boosters, honestly, because I haven't been able to play very specifically for a couple days. So, next opponent is Sorin. Sorin is white and black, so we won't have to worry about Ninja of the Deep Hours, but the 2 black cards that hurt me are Circle of Pain and the Skull Catapult. So buildings specifically are kind of hard for my deck to accommodate, but you just have to learn. So I forget if this game has it does. So the strategy here, I played both of my aggressive units to test what his response would be, and clearly the response is to have a building. So now I know for the future that I need to play around the building. And given that Sorin is white, he's running Spectral Procession, and there are 2 answers in my deck to Spectral Procession. It's either the Hadron Scouts or the Fireshrine Keeper. They're both about the same because they have to walk across the circle to deal with the other half. So the Spectral Procession will always get a little damage on your tower, and that actually relates to the Dovin style that I mentioned earlier. The Dove and chip damage is Spectral Procession and Ninja, just over and over and over, slowly chipping down your tower. But I did not have the resources to handle my upper lane there, so now my upper lane is about half dead and my bottom lane is also damaged. So it looks like I'm very behind right now, and because I know the Skull Catapult's in the deck, I split up my aggressive resources and make sure that the Hell Rider can get some damage on the bottom. Geralf's Messenger, which is the zombie thing that just died, it's going to come back, and it's going to be really annoying. So I need to deal with his bottom Planeswalker as well as the stuff going on in the top row. So you can see that my answer to Spectral Procession is Fire Shrine Keeper, and my answer to his Planeswalker is my Planeswalker. And when I'm playing a defensive game plan, typically I will use my Koths to defend against my opponent's Planeswalker. Now the upper lane is pretty much foregone at this point. I will lose it if he does any small push or whatever. It's pretty much impossible for me to defend against every push in the top lane. I did happen to get that my Sub-Guardian handled the Core Entangler, but what I'm trying to do here is obtain his bottom Sub-Guardian so that I can stay in the game for overtime and potentially damage his upper Sub-Guardian before he kills my bottom Sub-Guardian. So that's why all of my resources are pouring into the bottom lane here. But you'll notice that he isn't sending any resources into the top lane, which is very peculiar. Clearly, he thinks that he should get the bottom tower and then just take the top tower with any small amount of damage later. But Circle of Pain here has not been used too much in this game, and I remember being worried that multiple Circle of Pains would take out my bottom tower, but also he can just Circle of Pain my top Sub-Guardian right now and get it, so he doesn't even ever have to send a unit back in. So now I'm throwing everything I have at the top lane, assuming that I have to kill the top Sub-Guardian before I lose the bottom Sub-Guardian, and there's the Circle of Pain on my top Sub-Guardian, but not early enough. So Necromancer really threw this game. He had 40 seconds to play one Circle of Pain on my top Sub-Guardian, never did it, and therefore I won the game 1-0. So that isn't really a lesson to the Koth players. I might have been too aggressive throughout the game, especially since Skull Catapult existed in my opponent's deck. I may have wasted too much mana on aggressive plays, and I probably should have lost that game. But if you're the Sorin player, and if you're any player, you need to take a Sub-Guardian when it's close to damaged. Because one, you get a new Planeswalker, and two, you secure that for yourself. So, moving on to this game, it's a Will Rowan opponent. Will Rowan are red and blue, and I don't actually know that much about them because I don't own them. But we'll see in a few minutes one of their skills. Because Will Rowan are blue, they have access to the Lightning Tower. Now, Lightning Tower is another annoying one. It's not as bad as Skull Catapult, because what Skull Catapult does is it launches a skull that turns into a zombie of some sort. But the Lightning Tower is particularly hard for my Hell Rider to defeat because it has defensive capabilities. So here, when I see two flying units next to each other, Koth is a really great answer to this. However, the Planeswalker has not been seen. So Koth just died, given that he was frozen and the Shivan Dragon dealt him so much damage. And there's my opponent's Planeswalker. So I am one Planeswalker down, which is going to hurt in the long run, because usually I use my Koth Planeswalkers to answer my opponent's Planeswalkers, and if you can go 1-for-1, Koth's ability makes him take less damage and do more attack, so he can often survive directly against another Planeswalker and then come out leading a push. So playing Koth defensively to begin with to eliminate your opponent's Planeswalker is generally the right move. But you can see that when I'm aggressive, it does kind of hurt. So I'm still down one Koth. And here come the Planeswalker and the Dragon. Now the Icefall Dragon is pretty annoying to deal with, but not too bad. And there's the Ninja. So since they're a red-blue deck, they're playing Ninja the Deep Hours. He has become very, very popular in the last few days. Now, the Shivan Dragon can really eliminate a Ninja of the Deep Hours as long as it can breathe on it. The problem is the Shroud. So if you are a player playing the Ninja of the Deep Hours, do not play other units around the Ninja, or else the Shivan Dragon will breathe on those other units and AoE damage your Ninja, and your Ninja will be useless. So here I just got really wrecked by the Lightning Tower and the Ratchet Bomb. The Lightning Tower distracted my tower units and the Ratchet Bomb killed them. But with my strong Koth and Shivan Dragon, I eliminated the Will Planeswalker without much damage to my own Planeswalker. So now Koth is going to march towards that tower. And my goal here in the next 18 seconds is to do the final 1,000 damage to the enemy tower. And his Lightning Tower is not in rotation. But notice that my Goblin Artillery and other units around it dealt most of the damage to the tower during the fighting. So my goal here is to place a Goblin Artillery and let it survive just the 2 seconds it needs to launch a bomb. You can see the bomb going, and then boom, it hits the tower. I didn't care that Goblin Artillery was going to die. He launches his first bomb relatively quickly, and again, it's 340 damage to the tower. So that was way more than the 80 necessary. So at the end there, I was playing a distraction game, trying to kill his units as they were placed, but also distract his units from hitting my tower so that I could play one and then the final Goblin Artillery to finish off the tower that I had already damaged throughout the game. The Hell Rider during that game wasn't particularly useful. It was the Goblin Artillery that really won me the game. So this opponent is a Dovin opponent. We can expect to see Ninja of the Deep Hour. Possibly Sphinx of the Final Hour as well. And just to look at what my enemy is using, I play the Hell Rider, and in response, he chose to play both the Core Entangler and the Lightning Tower. So Core Entangler has a pretty strong attack, which is why it's important to answer it with the Hadron Scouts. Let's focus on what's going on in the top row, though. I played Koth in direct answer to the Dovin, and Koth did eliminate Dovin and his Ornithopters. Now, Koth died because of the Sphinx and Ratchet Bomb, but I'm happy just to use a Koth to kill a Dovin in the game that I'm playing right now, which is defensive. So I know that I'm a red deck, but in this specific game, I'm trying to be as defensive as possible. And there's the Ninja. So I have saved up the Hadron Scouts, which I will place right now, because the 3 Hadron Scouts eliminate the Ninja relatively quickly, but he'll still do massive damage to the tower if just the Hadron Scouts are played, which is why I played the Swashbuckler preemptively. And I really wish the Swashbuckler would damage the tower here, given that the arrow is hitting the tower's head, but that didn't happen. Your Sub-Guardian can handle the 3 Hadron Scouts without taking any damage, so never worry about those. And this was actually a mistake on his part here, I think, to pull my Core Entangler, or to Core Entangler my Fireshrine Keeper closer. And with the Shivan Dragon doing AoE damage, I don't even have to play my Koth right away. I do now because with the Hadron Scouts and Sphinx, he had enough AoE units to make Koth worth it, but look at that, Koth is already dead because of the Core Entangler. And I did not have, because I played the Fireshrine Keeper earlier, I didn't have him ready for the Ninja of the Deep Hours, so I lost my tower there, because the Ninja just swiped, and dealt massive damage to my tower. So you really have to be prepared for the Ninja of the Deep Hours when you know it's in the deck, or suspect it's in the deck. So now my only hope is to take a tower in the next 30 seconds, but I have split up my damage to both of the towers, so I don't really care about the things going to the main Guardian. And the thing that wrecks me in this game is the Sphinx of the Final Word. It just made my Shivan Dragon attack the other defensive unit I had there, and then it was game over, and I just don't have the resources right now to deal with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different cards he already has played right in front of my tower. I simply don't have the mana or proper cards or Planeswalker to handle that, so Sphinx of the Final Word is like the best card in a Dovin deck. I was playing Dovin before the season started, and I mean, yeah, it was proved in that game, and it was proved in my experience. Properly played Sphinx of the Final Words seal games and determine whether or not the player wins or loses if they waste them or use them properly. So, still on pace for level 9, but I did lose that game, and it is looking like a win and a loss up here at rank 8 are 25 stars in either direction. So this game I'm playing Vraska. She's green and black. Since she's black, she has access to the Skull Catapult and Circle of Pain, both of which are really annoying, and I did not happen to dock any of my aggressive cards. So I'm playing in response this game, and I did put a 7 mana dragon on the 3 mana Haunted Guardian, so if my opponent decides to commit to the bottom row, especially since I just put in 6 more mana to this, I overcommitted. But at the same time, I don't like wasting mana, so that's why I typically play the dragon in the back row. So the Skull Catapult dealt with my Swashbuckler and Fire Shrine Keeper pretty handedly, but now that I've played some units, I'm ready with my aggressive units. And I send in Koth to protect them so that other units attack Koth instead of the 2 aggressive units, and I used his ability because he's now pretty close to the tower. And my goal this game is seemingly to defeat a tower as much as possible because my opponent hasn't pressured me very much in the first minute. And that did make me suspect that this opponent was a bot, given that there was no Planeswalker played until my Planeswalker was played, and I'm not feeling very pressured. But this is a very sophisticated bot. And if you look right here, we see a second bomb launched from the Goblin Artillery. But I placed my Goblin Artillery after the Circle of Pain was placed, so that was just kind of luck on their part that they played it in such a position that I then, not knowing it had been played and was just loading up, placed the Goblin Artillery. So it killed my Goblin Artillery. Here I'm just waiting. I'm trying to build up mana and resources while not taking damage on my Sub-Guardians. But there's his second Vraska, and we've almost hit the 1 minute mark, and I still have 2 Koth left. So as far as the bots I faced, this is a pretty sophisticated one, but I do think it's a bot, or maybe just a player who has to complete a black and green cards quest, because this Rolling Slime I don't usually see either. And I had a remarkably hard, if this is a bot, I had a remarkably hard time obtaining the first Sub-Guardian, and I was very pressed to defend against some of the pushes that are happening, like right now in the bottom row, Haunted Guardian plus Skull Catapult. I'm not really close to losing. I haven't taken much damage on the towers, but at lower ranks, you can get the main Sub-Guardian, or the main Guardian against a bot pretty much no problem. And here I am struggling just to win the game 1-0. So, it is what it is. If Mighty was a bot, then there are high rank 8 bots. And I did just lose a game, which is typically when you get matched with a bot, so possibly. And actually there I only got 23 stars, so upon reflection I do think Mighty was playing Vraska was a bot. But clearly at the time I just queued back up. Given that I'm at 2482, if I win this game and earn plus 25 stars, that will bring me to rank 9. So Let's see how this game pans out. It is against a Dovin opponent, which I played just 2 games ago. So let's see if I learned my lessons. I do still send in my Hellrider. I guess I was feeling pretty aggressive today against certain opponents. I will not send in the Hellrider if I don't have the Goblin Artillery as well, and here's why. I have spent my Shivan Dragon for 7, and now I have nothing to do. And luckily, Fire Shrine Keeper and Hadron Scouts were up next, and so I could respond to the Ninja of the Deep Hours up top. But I used a Koth for purely defense and not even in response to a Planeswalker. And his Ratchet Bomb is upgraded so much that it kills my Goblin Artillery straight up. So I can see that I'm very much struggling right now. I'm not going to be able to respond to the Blinding Mage very quickly, and I use Koth again right on Dovin, but I used my Fire Shrine Keeper because Blinding Mage was being such a pain, but that means that I couldn't use it on the Ninja of the Deep Hours. Luckily, Shivan Dragon was there. He fired the ninja up pretty quickly, so that wasn't too bad. But I am not playing well, even though I'm probably not ahead at this position in the game right now. I am continually playing from behind, and here I have to use Koth to answer Dovin because I just have nothing else to do. The Buccaneer will not answer Dovin on its own. And there he plays a Ninja, so now I can't even push anymore with this, and I have to use my resources against the Ninja or else lose that top tower. But look at that, Ninja only got 1 hit in. Of course, I committed 3 mana and 2 cards to it, so there's no mana advantage. But at least it only did 1 swipe on my tower. Haunted Guardian versus Fire Shrine Keeper. The Haunted Guardian is going to win every time. His attack is much stronger. And I do happen to be very close to eliminating the bottom Sub-Guardian right now, but I'm not prepared for the Ninja. I have not cycled through my cards and do not have a lot of mana right now to deal with the Ninja. So luckily it's ManaStrike, and I did get another Koth. But you should go look at how I got the bottom Sub-Guardian there. And I almost played the Hadron Scouts stupidly and then noticed that a Ninja was on the way, so I saved them for the Ninja. But going back to the bottom Sub-Guardian, I played a Goblin Artillery knowing that it would survive at least 1 launch, and since the tower's only at 223 health, the bomb would be enough. And here, I had to give up my top Sub-Guardian. There was no way that the Ninja would make it and be killed. So the Ninja was going to walk all the way to my tower, swipe the last 80 damage or whatever it was, and so I just made a giant push to get the other Sub-Guardian, and it won me the game. So here's rank 9. I was super happy, and I still am happy seeing it for the first time. Rank 9 is the highest rank that they assign you, and from there it's just numbered ranks in the top, from top 1 down to top 200, and here I show you that. So I'm at 2505. I claimed the reward for reaching rank 9 for the first time, and 9 is the highest rank in the game, so my Sub-Guardians and Planeswalkers won't increase anymore in level. And my next goal will be to reach top 200. I mean, for now it's just number 200. Don't really care about 100 or 50 or whatever. I would just like to see myself on the next point on this track, which is top 200. So I will continue to play Koth both for the rest of this video and in the next few videos. Clearly this deck has performed very well for me up until now. Here's the deck. Yeah, I mean, since I was recording, I thought at the time that people would like to see my deck. Shivan Dragon has been standout, and I have 4 out of 8 cards. I've been requesting my team to donate Shivan Dragons to try to get him up to rank 5. I think they're called ranks with the cards. I'm not actually sure. Level 5, because you level up cards. So I'm trying to get the Shivan Dragon to level 5, but it's taking many days because you can request 2 cards a day. A tip is make sure you log on in the morning, request a card, and then 12 hours later, before you go to bed, request a card again from your team, because the reset is every 12 hours. So that way you can get 2 cards a day instead of just 1. So I went back into battle pretty quickly, and my first rank 9 opponent is a Tezzeret. And the important part with Tezzeret is to be aggressive, because at the end of the game, specifically in ManaStrike, I will be playing only defense, trying to avoid getting wrecked by the either Ethersquall Ancient Reaver Demon combo or this Ninja the Deep Hours and Drawless Messenger combo, because both Ninja and Drawless Messenger go straight for the tower and guarantee some damage. So with this deck, playing the Lightning Tower, Drawless Messenger, and Ninja the Deep Hours, his goal is to chip away at my towers slowly over the game and then overwhelm me in ManaStrike with either the final bits of damage or even more chip damage. Because look at that, both of my towers are damaged, and my bottom one is at about 4,000 health already. And that's just with one Drawless Messenger hitting it. So this was a bit of a lull in the game. He has spent a lot of mana but has enough for a ninja, and for me, I don't have the Fire Shrine Keeper, so I choose to use the Ash Cloud Phoenix. And he played Hysterical Blindness, but way too late. So it was just wasted on his part. But clearly the point of the deck is to play Hysterical Blindness, stop my creatures from attacking for a couple seconds, to allow the Drawless Messenger and Ninja the Deep Hours to get in more swipes. They just hurt the tower so much in so little time. And here I was not able to take out the Planeswalker without my own Planeswalker, and once again I don't have Fire Shrine Keeper ready because I had to play it for his AoE effect. So it's Ash Cloud Phoenix and Hadron Scouts to deal with the Ninja of the Deep Hours, which is still effective. It's just that Ash Cloud Phoenix costs 1 more mana than the Fire Shrine Keeper, and the Fire Shrine Keeper does the same. Like, it eliminates Ninja just as quickly. So Drawless Messenger there, got in some hits, died. He'll come back in a few seconds, which is always very annoying. But since Tezzeret's in my territory, he got to play Ninja of the Deep Hours deep in my territory. So things are really not looking good for me, because I can't, like, there's 1 hit and not 2 hits before the Drawless Messenger died. So that was very good. However, because I played a bit aggressively, I've used all my Planeswalkers, and he just sent 2 units into the top lane. So, luckily, my typical response to 1 is taking them both out right now, but they did get some hits on my tower. So, my opponent chose to split his resources and try to damage both towers before the game was over, whereas I concentrated almost fully on the bottom tower when I was responding with counter pushes, and I earned that bottom tower. But he was like 2/3 of the way on both Sub-Guardians, and therefore lost the game. So I'm pretty sure I've already brought up this message, but as a player, as a blue player it seems, you need to focus on eliminating 1 Sub-Guardian and be absolutely sure you have that one on lock in order to win the game. You can't just assume. So let's get into the next match. Okay, this next match is yet another rank 9 Tezzeret. It's not particularly surprising. He is very popular at high ranks because he's very strong. But this deck can at least go toe-to-toe with Tezzeret. So I test out which version of Tezzeret he is with the Hell Rider, and he has no response in hand except Tezzeret himself, which is very good for me. However, he Reaver Demons pretty close to my territory, but you could see right there that Shivan Dragon took out the Ninja of the Deep Hours by doing AoE damage as it attacked Tezzeret. But my Planeswalker is also dead, and so killing Reaver Demon is going to be a real pain here. It's just so strong with all 5 summons. It's dealing multiple hits to my tower that are, what is that, 600 each? And I had to use 2 Planeswalkers to respond to that, but that was also his second Tezzeret, so I'm not particularly sad, and it gets me a nice aggressive push here. However, the Sphinx of the Final Word made all my units attack each other, and so that push died where it stood. This is a fairly interesting Tezzeret deck. It's using both the Ninja and the Reaver Demon, but I have not seen an Ethersquall Ancient yet. I did just see an Icefall Dragon, so I would expect Ethersquall Ancient to exist, but I've seen the summon units, the Reaver Demon that kills the units, Ninja of the Deep Hour, Sphinx of the Final Word, Icefall Dragon, but no tower. So a lot of Tezzerets will run the blue Lightning Tower, but that's not in this deck. And it's not in the deck to make space for these utility units he wants to use, like Ninja of the Deep Hours and Icefall Dragon. So he probably does have Reaver Demon, or Ethersquall Ancient, because I've only remembered 5 cards that he has. And you get 7. So there's the Reaver Demon, which only summoned 3. That was probably a misplay on his part, but it's not really going to affect the game. There's the Ethersquall Ancient, which, as I said, he's been keeping it the entire game, which should have been pretty risky to lose a spot in your dock, but clearly wasn't, and I just don't have the resources to counter a 2 Icefall Dragon plus Reaver Demon push. There's that tower unit that just continually deals AoE damage to nearby things. I have no idea what that's called. So that was his 6th card, and then Ethersquall Ancient was the 7th. I just couldn't handle the final push, which is why you need to take a tower early as Koth and then purely defend against the Tezzeret player. So I decided at this point to take a quick look at the stats to wonder how hard it was going to be to get into that top 200. Probably was feeling bad about the loss I just took, but you can see that even at 2509, you're in the top 3% of players in ManaStrike. So if you are also rank 9 or close to rank 9 or rank 8 even, feel good about yourself. You are winning way more games than you're losing. And to scroll down to the 200th place, we'll see that that's at 2963 stars. And I'm at 2509 stars. So I have about 450 more stars to go before I would even be considered for this top 200 point. So I don't expect to reach it anytime soon, but I will continue to run Koth and my Koth deck with the hope of someday representing Koth and Red in the top 200. But you can see that a lot of those Planeswalkers had black affiliation. Just like this girl, we're playing another Vraska. Green-black, Circle of Pain, Skull Catapult. Name the colors, name the concerns. Vengevine has also become more popular. It might have been buffed in the last patch, I don't remember. There's the Vengevine. Just like Ninja of the Deep Hours and Drolf's Messenger, it practically guarantees damage on the Sub-Guardian. And I used my Koth defensively in the top row, which turns out to be a mistake because I cannot handle what's going on in the bottom row. And I'm really wishing right now that I had a Koth. But even when Koth dies and I can put him back, I'll just be one Planeswalker down. And that's not going to bode well for me this game. So Ninja in blue, Drolf's Messenger in black, Vengevine in green, I guess you would say Spectral Procession in white, And maybe Goblin Artillery is the equivalent in red. So every color has a unit that can practically guarantee damage on a building or Sub-Guardian. With the Hadron Scouts that I put in a few videos ago, the Hadron Scouts can defeat things like this. I mean, the Vengevine seems to have AoE attack. Not really sure. I should probably learn more about the Vengevine before I make assertions like that. But the Vengevine I found particularly hard to eliminate. Whereas I figured out my strategy for the Ninja of the Deep Hours is I play 2 units that total cost 3 and maybe 4 if I have to. And then the Ninja isn't too bad. But this Vengevine, he just sent multiple Vengevines to the tower and my Sub-Guardian got wrecked. I'm not even close to eliminating his lower Sub-Guardian. My opponent is playing Skull Catapult, which makes it all the harder for my aggressive units to damage the Sub-Guardian. Overall, I feel like these are very good plays by my opponent. She just put another Vengevine towards my other tower, and it's just seems to have a lot of health for units that are guaranteed to damage the tower. The Goblin Artillery doesn't have much health at all. It can be taken out by a Ratchet Bomb. Jarl's Messenger dies once easily, dies twice easily, but it still, comes back alive. And Ninja of the Deep Hours I can personally kill pretty quickly, so of all the direct damage units, Vengevine seems to have a lot of health, and it's been very hard for me to eliminate before it does a lot of damage to the tower, and at this point I can just see that I've lost. I mean, the only way I possibly win in the last few seconds is taking both Sub-Guardians, which is why I sent units in the top row, but due to the Vengevines being sent in, I had already lost that game. I could have maybe played a lot more defensively in order to win in the end, but with this deck, against a deck that has a building, which is Skull Catapult, if you play too defensively all game, you don't win because you never damage a Sub-Guardian. So, we'll see how this Stoven game plays out with Born Winner. So I play the Hell Rider once again to test, and he shows me that he is using a Lightning Tower, so that's very important information to know, and is also running Spectral Procession. Now I can handle Spectral Procession fairly easily with the Hadron Scouts and in the future Fire Shrine Keeper, but now I know that he's running Lightning Tower out, and he's already cycled around to Spectral Procession, so I played 2 units there, but I didn't have the Hadron Scouts ready. I only want to play my Goblin Artillery and or Hell Rider after I've seen a Lightning Tower be played, to make sure that they get their damage on the actual Sub-Guardian. So I believe we'll see that play out in this match. But by saving both of those units, I'm also limiting myself to effectively 2 units in the dock. So knowing that, I chose to play the Hell Rider to get him out of the way. Also, my opponent committed 4 and then 3 more mana, so 7 total mana to the bottom lane just to respond to my Hell Rider. So that's pretty good because he didn't commit any extra to his top lane push. And now I have Shivan Dragon and Fire Shrine Keeper marching towards the tower, forcing him to use a Planeswalker in response. Now, Koth is on the bottom lane because I was feeling pressured there, so if Koth were in the top lane, he would take out Dovin, the Hadron Scouts, and the Haunted Guardian, no problem. But as it is, the Ninja of the Deep Hours was placed pretty deep into my territory and is now wreaking havoc on my main Guardian. Now, I chose to not worry about that, play Koth in the bottom lane to answer the Planeswalker he got from defeating my tower. Now it's ManaStrike, so he'll have yet another Dovin Planeswalker available. So I really have to not worry about the main Guardian at all, and protect the one Sub-Guardian that I have left. And you look, the bomb that the Goblin Artillery just launched is what took out the bottom Sub-Guardian from me. And I am immediately going aggressively in the top lane so that I try to win the Sub-Guardian that I need before he gets my Sub-Guardian. Now, you can see a Ninja of the Deep Hours down there. I was not ready to respond to it because I had played too many units in the upper row. So it got massive damage on my Sub-Guardian, and I lost that one. I actually did succeed in taking a second Sub-Guardian to tie the game, but in doing so, I had nothing left to respond to the push that was headed towards my main Guardian, and I lost this game. So that's why Koth has to balance very finely defense versus attack, because you need the Sub-Guardians to win the game. But if you go too hard for them, you have nothing left to defend, because there are only a couple of defensive units. They're very strong. Koth is an amazing defensive unit. Shivan Dragon is wonderful but costs 7. And the Fire Shrine Keeper is also a great defensive unit. Swashbuckler can be used to very good effect, as well if there are swarms, or if they've lined up as they're walking, but he's not the go-to defensive unit. So you have to balance your cycle and what's being used to damage the tower versus what's being used to protect in this Koth deck. That is abundantly clear in Tezzeret games, because you need to eliminate a tower so that you're ahead. And from there, you cannot lose your own tower, but this deck has adequate tools to defend against Etherscroll Reaver Demon. So right here should come a Koth to deal with his Planeswalker Tezzeret. But since Tezzeret's so deep into my territory, he got to place Wavecrash Triton and another unit, which I think I killed right away. Wavecrash Triton is an interesting choice. There seems to be a flex or tech spot in these Tezzeret decks. We've seen Icefall Dragon and now Wavecrash Triton. Both are strong units in their own right, but I don't think they're the right move for this deck. This opponent is playing Lightning Tower. No, not Lightning Tower, Skull Catapult. So I think you only pick one building, whether it's Lightning Tower or Skull Catapult. Most people seem to prefer Skull Catapult. But if you look, my opponent waited so long to play Skull Catapult, and I don't know if that's because they had to build up the mana or get it back in their cycle. But now the bottom Sub-Guardian is only 418, has only 418 health left, which is 2 Goblin Bombs. So that's my goal here. Annoy and distract as much as possible, such that I can launch 2 Goblin Bombs. Apparently, I lied about previous David's attitude here. Apparently I thought that Hellrider would be enough. It clearly was. So I got the Sub-Guardian differently than I just explained, but typically I'll play the Goblin Artillery to try to get him to launch 2 bombs and take out the tower. In the next minute, I just need to not lose the game because I'm ahead, which is how you win as Koth. I'm going to say it a bunch of times, but how you win against Koth as Tezzeret is getting a Sub-Guardian and then not losing any of your own. So now I have the liberty to focus all of my resources on defending my own Sub-Guardians. I haven't seen Reaver Demon, and I haven't seen Etherscroll Ancient, so this, I think my internet connection went out there while I was playing the game. This version of Tezzeret wants to abuse the Ninja of the Deep Hours and apparently Circle of Pain with the Wavecrash Triton and Skull Catapult as very good defensive tools. But it just wasn't enough against my version of the Koth deck with the Shivan Dragon and Koth himself. They just do really well. Oh, and the typical Ninja of the Deep Hours response. Hadron Scouts plus Fire Shrine Keeper. So the cards that I choose kind of hard countered the cards that he chose. Tezzeret decks that run Sphinx, Ether Squall, Reaver Demon, are much harder for me to beat. Not impossible, just harder than that version of the Tezzeret deck. Let me know in the comments, engage with me on what Planeswalkers you're playing right now. There was just a small Ether Squall patch, but we're in the middle of the Koth season, so let me know what you're liking, how it's going, win rates and stuff like that. Would love to hear from you, because I have been playing exclusively Koth since he came out. I think it's paying off. I'm facing another Will Rowan, so not as uncommon as some of the other Planeswalkers, like Gideon, for example. I haven't faced Gideon in a while. So Will Rowan is at least slightly competitive. We can see that my opponent is running Lightning Tower this game, just like the previous Will Rowan was. And it looks like Will Rowan's Planeswalker ability is to switch between the two, and presumably Rowan has a different main attack, whereas Will's is to freeze the target. But I have never seen a player actually switch, and especially not as aggressively as Veer 7 seems to switch between the two Planeswalkers. But they're making real use of their blue cards here with the Icefall Dragon, Wave Crash Triton, Ninja of the Deep Hours. There's not much to say right now. Well, okay, so I played Koth in response to Will Rowan, because what I don't want to do is let the Planeswalker into my territory. Sphinx of the Final Word. There's a red card, Fire Shrine Keeper, so my opponent is playing a set of very good cards. And Koth can barely handle the Planeswalker, the Fire Shrine Keeper, and the Sphinx, but look at that, he's still alive. And I don't care that he's about to die. I'm not using him to go for the tower right now, but he eliminated those 3 units where they stood. It's very important. So there's a Goblin Artillery that I think I forget about for a while. Oh, not too long. Alright, I played the Fire Shrine Keeper, but he got to send multiple bombs at my building, but neither of us have very much damaged each other's Sub-Guardians. His defensive units are actually very effective against mine. The Icefall Dragon slowing them down, the Lightning Tower blocking my normal aggressive units. But at the same time, my Shivan Dragon and Koth are defeating the groups of units that he's trying to send in at a time. I feel like if my opponent were to not send in groups of creatures, they might be standing a better chance. But there's a Ninja, I don't know if you saw, there was a Ninja of the Deep Hours in there. I'm pretty sure he got some damage on my tower. But the winning piece there was the Wave Crash Triton. Even though its push effect doesn't happen on the Sub-Guardian, clearly, it still dealt repeated and high damage to my Sub-Guardian. And because I didn't respond to the Goblin Artillery earlier, my Sub-Guardian had already taken some damage, and so I lost this game. I didn't even get one Sub-Guardian to advance my booster progress. So when you win a game, I think you get 3 gold dots towards your booster, but if you lose a game, you get 1 gold dot per Sub-Guardian defeated. Alright, we are facing yet another Tezzeret. I'm getting kind of exhausted playing against the Tezzerets and watching my gameplay against the Tezzerets at this point. But he's popular enough that it's important to know how to play, so once again, we start out aggressive. The game plan isn't linear, but you need to take a tower, and I am so slow right now because I don't have the Hell Rider in my dock that I don't remember particularly, but I don't think I win this game. And I believe that part of that is due to the lack of aggression available to me in the early game. So now my opponent has a ton of mana, has the resources he wants, Sphinx of the Final Word here, presumably re-redeeming sometime soon. So we're seeing the building card, I don't know its name, Skull Catapult, Sphinx of the Final Word, the 2-mana Accursed Spirit is what I think it is, and Ninja the Deep Hour. So that's 5 cards, which means what we have left could be Ether Squall Re-Redeeming, but there aren't any summon cards, so it might not be a Re-Redeeming type deck. Sphinx of the Final Word is very much more control than aggressive. I probably should not have chucked down that... Circle of Pain. So absolutely no Ether Squall, or absolutely no Re-Redeeming, which probably means no Ether Squall. I threw down the Goblin Artillery because I built up the mana for it, and that is not the way to play this game. When you're behind, which I am behind, even though I have more damage on his tower, he can distract my units with the Skull Catapult and Sphinx of the Final Word. In addition, his ManaStrike push is going to be way more strong and annoying than mine. I forget what I was saying, but let's pay attention to the Ninja the Deep Hours in the final, or in the bottom lane. And Circle of Pain there is going to wreck the 2 units that are going for the tower, but I remember now. The way to play this game is to build up incremental either unit or mana advantages such that you can add an extra unit to a push in the end, and that unit's damage turns the tide of the push or counter push, depending on your perspective, and allows your units to make it to the tower and win. A lot of higher end games are decided 1-0, and here I actually did pull off the 1-0 win by damaging the top Sub-Guardian, but that's because my opponent was trying very hard with a majority of his units to attack my lower Sub-Guardian. And with the Koth Planeswalker and red cards available to me in my deck, I was able to defend a little bit while also doing a little bit of damage to the top Sub-Guardian, getting me the 1-0 win. So with that, I will stop this video. It's been a long one. Please let me know if you like this format of commenting. I do believe that I missed some happenings because it was all going so fast for me, whereas when I'm playing the game, I can verbalize exactly what I'm thinking in the moment, whereas now I do have a different perspective, but at the same time I don't know what I was thinking back then. So leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe if you're interested. I will be posting more ranked gameplay videos very regularly. So thank you, I appreciate you, and have a great day.